Barstool boss and pizza rancor, Dave Portnoy, I don't know, I'm out of my mind today, has blasted the race baiters who believe Caitlin Clark is only popular because she is white.
Monica McNutt just claimed Caitlin Clark is only popular because she's a white girl from the middle of America. Not her record-breaking stats, not her revolutionary passing, not her logo three-pointers that changed basketball forever.
That is a narrative that is very popular among the morons. Major moron, Monica McNutt, how she has a job, I absolutely know, at ESPN, said, well, you know, she's in the Midwest, she's popular, and let's face it, she's a white girl. Really? Okay, let's examine.
But Dave Portnoy isn't letting this slide. He's armed with viewership numbers that completely destroy McNutt's race-baiting narrative. And you won't believe how badly her argument falls apart when actual facts enter the conversation. If you're a fan of Caitlin Clark and don't believe McNutt's lies, comment down below which city, state, or country you're watching from. Are you ready? Let's go.
Caitlin Clark is a superstar, not a female superstar. She is a superstar.
We were coming to see Caitlin Clark play.
She moves the needle. The WNBA has been looking for someone who moves the needle.
Let's talk about the bombshell that ESPN analyst Monica McNutt just dropped that has basketball fans completely furious. During an interview with BBC special correspondent Caddy K, McNutt made a statement about Caitlin Clark that instantly set social media on fire. She actually said,
"Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?"
Well, I was just about to say same thing for Angel Reese when I had a chance to cover their games. But I think Caitlin represented, and again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America.
McNutt essentially suggested that Clark's massive popularity stems primarily from her being white and from the Midwest, not from her extraordinary talent or work ethic. This take isn't just bad. It's insulting to anyone who's watched Clark play.
And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is truly what she prescribed to or not. We can all say she is a dynamic basketball player and a force both on the court and the marketing sense. But I do think, same thing with folks that may have fallen in love with Angel Reese that may or may not have agreed with everything they had to say either. We attach our fandom to these icons for all types of reasons.
The reality? Clark averaged 19.2 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 8.4 assists per game in her rookie season. Those aren't just good numbers, they're exceptional. Her court vision, deep three-point shooting range, and revolutionary passing ability have transformed how the women's game is played. What's even more telling is that the Indiana Fever are scheduled for 41 nationally televised games next season. The networks don't make those decisions based on a player's background. They make them based on who drives viewership.
Caitlin Clark, the people's champion! Let's get it!
That's a deep one.
Bang!
Just announced that Caitlin Clark and the Fever will be playing 41 of 44 games this year on national TV. And coming to watch the other girl, right?
Right? Bang!
Teams are moving their games with the Fever to NBA arenas so they can sell more tickets. How about that?
Bang!
Angel Reese attempted a three this deep. I think she might dislocate her shoulder.
Bang!
You want some butter with that bread? Butter. Butter.
Butter pecan! Bang!
McNutt's comments completely ignore the highlight reel moments that have made Clark a sensation. Those logo threes that leave defenders helpless, the no-look passes that thread impossible needles, and the clutch performances in high-pressure moments. None of those skills have anything to do with being a white girl from the middle of America.
I believe there's actually a debate on who was Rookie of the Year last year. Imagine being that delusional.
Bang!
People need to understand she saved this league. Powder, there's no TV deals, no ad sponsorships, heck, no shoe deals for you, Angel Reese, no McDonald's money. The league losing millions of dollars each year. She saved them from bankruptcy. Time to be grateful.
Bang!
93% of her games on national TV.
She's like that! Bang!
Fans across social media immediately called out McNutt for diminishing Clark's achievements. One user pointed out the logical fallacy in McNutt's reasoning. If being white and from the Midwest were enough to become a basketball superstar, we'd see dozens of Caitlin Clarks. We don't, because what makes her special is her once-in-a-generation talent.
Della Dunn, Sabrina, Brianna, Kelsey, Diana Taurasi. You had and have these white players in the league that never galvanized the people like this. All right. Now, granted, you can have some people come back and say, well, the media and the coverage wasn't as good as it is now. NILs and things like that weren't popping off. That has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it, man. If they were that captivating, they would have got the eyes.
Suggesting that Clark's unprecedented impact on viewership is primarily due to her racial background rather than her transcendent skill set is not just incorrect. It's a disservice to the game and to all the young players who look up to her regardless of race or background.
But honestly, the main reason is because of her talents. It's not because of her race. Her race has nothing to do with it. You know, especially with kids. She's saying kids don't see color, man. The kids that I grew up around, and when I grew up as a kid, I didn't see color, man. I did not see color. I didn't care about color. I didn't know what color was. I just knew you were a human being, and I was trying to be your friend. It's kind of a crazy, nonsensical take to say that kids were looking up to her because she was white.
What most people don't realize is that McNutt's comments about Clark's race aren't just a one-off hot take. They're the latest chapter in what appears to be a calculated campaign to undermine Clark at every turn. The receipts go back to September 2024, when McNutt made the jaw-dropping claim that Caitlin Clark deserved only 60% of the credit for the Fever making the playoffs. Think about that for a second. The Indiana Fever hadn't reached the postseason for 6 straight years before Clark arrived. Yet somehow, in McNutt's mind, the rookie who transformed the franchise deserved barely more than half the credit for their success.
She's been spectacular and exceeded expectations. The pick and roll between Caitlin and Aaliyah has been fantastic. Kelsey Mitchell is having a career year, and all of those role players get a slice. I don't know quite how.
Well, that's a lot of pizza pie. I get you. But there's got to be one big slice, and that's Clark. What percentage are we talking about for Caitlin Clark? 80%, 90%, 95%?
I mean, listening to her all season long, I've called a couple of their games, she's team first. Statistically, you're probably looking at least 60%.
This bizarre 60% assessment becomes even more suspicious when you notice how McNutt discusses other star players. When it comes to anyone not named Caitlin Clark, McNutt typically gives full-throated credit for team achievements. But with Clark, suddenly it's time to divide up the credit pie. Then came the Rookie of the Year debate, where McNutt vocally backed Angel Reese despite Clark's clearly superior statistical case. McNutt's reasoning? Team success should be the primary factor. But wait, wasn't this the same analyst who just refused to give Clark full credit for her team's success? The contradiction is impossible to ignore.
You would have the Sky in the playoffs right now, which means that Angel Reese, in theory, has impacted winning in a greater way. But I think the double-double streak that she's on, the 8 consecutive double-doubles, for Caitlin, she's leading rookies in points, minutes, and assists. There was terrific stats put out over the weekend by our colleague Michael Vopel about the percentage, about her being the player that has seen the most blitzes in the league. And so she's navigating a different level of defensive intensity, and rightfully so, because she's playing the point guard role for this Fever squad. So I think today, looking at the standings, you probably tend to lean Angel.
Basketball fans have noticed this pattern too. Social media has erupted with calls for ESPN to fire McNutt, with countless posts pointing out her ever-shifting criteria for greatness. When Clark puts up historic numbers, McNutt pivots to team success. When Clark's team succeeds, McNutt suddenly wants to distribute credit to everyone else. When all else fails, she suggests Clark's popularity is about race rather than her revolutionary playing style.
To me, yeah, jealous, sure. I mean, would you be jealous of somebody that got $28 million a shoe deal or whatever the deal is before you step foot in the pros, right?
Yeah.
Some critics have even accused McNutt of manufacturing racial hysteria to diminish Clark's achievements. The pattern is so obvious that fans from all backgrounds are calling it out as a deliberate attempt to undermine one of the game's brightest stars.
Well, after the Women's NCAA Championship, viewership numbers were released where Clark in Iowa set a record for the four most watched women's college basketball games ever. Let me say it again, of all time. That's a lot. Within a 13-month span. So from one Final Four to the other Final Four, the 4 most watched games ever in the women's Final Four involved Iowa and Caitlin Clark. That's her junior and senior year ever.
Just as the anti-Clark brigade was hitting its stride, Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy stepped into the conversation with a statistical slam dunk that exposed the absurdity of McNutt's race-centered narrative. Portnoy didn't just offer an opinion. He came armed with viewership numbers that told a story McNutt and her defenders can't dismiss with rhetoric.
People are going to tell you that the reason Caitlin Clark was so popular in college was her rivalry with Angel Reese. Okay, you can tell us that, but based on this sentence right here by Dave Portnoy, there is no Angel Reese. There was no Angel Reese. There was South Carolina. Angel Reese played at LSU.
After the 2025 NCAA Women's Tournament final wrapped up, Portnoy took to social media with a simple yet devastating question. I'm going to need all the race baiters who explain Caitlin Clark's popularity simply because she's white to explain why 10 million more people watched her last year than Paige Beckers, also white, this year. I'll hang up and listen. That mic drop moment centered on an uncomfortable truth for anyone pushing the race narrative explanation. The 2024 championship game featuring Clark's Iowa Hawkeyes pulled in a record-shattering 18.9 million viewers, while the 2025 final with Beckers and UConn attracted just 8.5 million. That's a difference of over 10 million viewers between two games featuring white women in the same championship spotlight.
18.9 million, the most ever for a women's basketball game, as opposed to 8.5 million with a white star, Paige Beckers. Now, the 18.5 million did not involve Angel Reese, as I said earlier. It did not. Actually, it involved USC, South Carolina. Guess who's this year's game involved? That was 10 million plus, down from last year. South Carolina, a big power. It wasn't like all of a sudden San Diego State came into the NCAA Women's Final Four and people are like, yeah, I don't really want to watch that. I like watching powers. This year, you had the two, quote, superpowers of women's college basketball.
The power of this comparison lies in its elegant simplicity. If Clark's popularity were primarily driven by her race, as McNutt suggested, then Beckers, who shares the same racial background and Midwestern roots, she hails from Minnesota, should have generated comparable viewership numbers. But she didn't. Not even close. The stark 10.4 million viewer gap obliterates the race-based theory in one clean statistical sweep.
But the two biggest names in college basketball this year, actually the three biggest names, Paige Beckers, Gina Auriemma, and of course Dawn Staley, they were in this Final Four. They were in this championship game. And yet, the ratings tanked. The ratings were over 50% less than the year before.
This wasn't Portnoy's first time defending Clark against what he calls race baiters. Back in December 2024, he launched into a passionate defense, declaring that Clark's popularity has absolutely nothing to do with the color of her skin. To reinforce his point about her extraordinary talent, he shared footage of Clark scoring an impressive 22 points in just 2 minutes against the Iowa men's practice team. Visual evidence of the skill that actually drives her appeal. What makes Portnoy's argument particularly compelling is that it doesn't just dismantle McNutt's premise with a single data point. It's supported by a broader pattern. Throughout her college career and into her rookie WNBA season, Clark's games consistently outperformed men's basketball games in similar time slots. That kind of crossover appeal simply cannot be explained away by demographic factors.
It's impossible for them to give Caitlin Clark, quote, her flowers without a caveat. That caveat being, it's because she's white. Now, none of these women, Monica McNutt, Uchi Yamaguchi, whatever her name is, whoever that Carter girl is, whoever Elle Duncan is, whoever these people are, none of these women are going to come back and say, yeah, you know what? We might have been wrong about, well, she's a white girl and that's the reason she's so popular. They'll parse it. They'll say, well, we said how great she is. No. They're either too arrogant or too stupid to understand that what they've said all along about Caitlin Clark is just simply wrong.
The numbers tell us something much more straightforward about Clark's popularity. People tune in because she's electric to watch. Her unprecedented shooting range, creative passing, and fearless style of play create must-see TV. She brings casual fans to women's basketball not because of who she is demographically, but because of what she does on the court.
Caitlin Clark and the United States of America's women basketball people, the entire women people of the United States of America caught lightning in a bottle. Caitlin Clark's game sells. Her attitude sells. She said the other day she doesn't talk ish on the court. She's lying. It's all right. It's fine. She doesn't talk much. When we do, when she does, we pay attention. Has nothing to do with her being a white girl. Actually, I rephrase that. Has very little to do with her being a, quote, white girl.
McNutt's race-centric explanation falls apart under even the most basic scrutiny. If being white were the magic ingredient for basketball popularity, then all white players would draw a similar viewership, but they don't. The data shows that Clark stands alone in her ability to drive audience numbers, regardless of who else is on the court.
It has to do with her game. It has to do with taking Iowa, who used to be a power in women's basketball way back to prominence. Has to do with deep threes, a la Steph Curry. Has to do with behind-the-back no-look passes, a la Pete Maravich. We're drawn to those type players, black, white, green, or purple. Paige Beckers is a terrific player. Seemingly a terrific woman, always seems to have a smile on her face. She'll capture the imagination a little. She'll do some commercials, but she's not going to be Caitlin Clark because she doesn't have that kind of game.
What Portnoy effectively demonstrated is that there's a fundamental difference between correlation and causation. Yes, Clark happens to be white, but that's not why millions tune in to watch her play. They watch because she's breaking records, revolutionizing the women's game, and doing things on the court that no one else can do, regardless of race, gender, or background. The viewership data doesn't lie. Even as women's basketball enjoys unprecedented growth and attention, the gap between Clark's numbers and everyone else's reveals something that transcends demographic categories. It's about basketball brilliance. It's about jaw-dropping talent that appeals to sports fans of all backgrounds.
We only care that Caitlin Clark is playing. We only care that Caitlin Clark is getting beat up. We only care that Caitlin Clark is hitting a deep three. We only care that Caitlin Clark is getting poked in the eye. Everybody else can poke everybody else in the eye. And the reason we care is because her game is special. The reason we care because her game is something we have not seen ever in women's basketball. Don't try to compare her to Diana Taurasi or Miller's sister, Cheryl Miller, or Ann Myers, or whoever. Doesn't matter. Tamika Catchings, no. Her game is different. It's better. It's flashier. It resonates with the way basketball is played today.
Basketball brilliance doesn't exist in isolation, and neither will Caitlin Clark in Indiana. While McNutt and others obsess over why people watch Clark, the Fever's front office is quietly orchestrating a complete organizational revolution designed specifically to maximize her extraordinary talents. This isn't just about adding a superstar to the roster. It's about building an entire franchise identity around her unique skill set.
And see it for what it is. A woman that just freaking balls like we like to see people play basketball. That's it.
Behind the scenes, Indiana's new coaching staff is constructing an offensive system that leverages Clark's exceptional shooting range, court vision, and passing ability. Instead of forcing her to adapt to conventional WNBA schemes, they're flipping the script, reshaping their approach to amplify what makes her special. The goal isn't just to feature Clark, but to create a system where her abilities elevate everyone around her.
Uh-oh! They not gonna like this one! Rookie scoring record! Bang! Na-na-na-na boo-boo, you can't get me! Caitlin Clark running around like Curry, top of the key, three ball! Bang! Buddy called Glenn Powell, she put that defender in a twister, and one! You gonna close out with the hand down? Man down! Bang! With virtually no offseason to prepare. Yeah, she might have all these rookie records, but man, that long two goes through! Bang! We're trying to hound her!
The chemistry between Clark and her teammates is already showing promising signs. Aaliyah Boston's finishing ability around the rim creates a perfect pick-and-roll partner for Clark's pinpoint passing. When defenses collapse on that combination, Kelsey Mitchell's scoring prowess becomes even more dangerous on the perimeter. And don't overlook Lexi Hull, whose defensive intensity creates transition opportunities that showcase Clark's court vision at full speed. What makes this transformation particularly fascinating is how opposing WNBA teams are already adjusting their strategies in response. Coaches across the league are redesigning defensive schemes specifically to contain Clark, reconfiguring roster construction to match up against the Fever's emerging identity. When your opponents are rebuilding their entire approach because of one player, you know you've got something special.
They can't stop her! Get off of me! Step back! 3 ball! Bang! This baby on me! She's too little! Only a rookie? That's only our rookie? No, that's our baby goat. Look at this. Anyone but Caitlin beat us defense. Face guard all you want, girl. There's no one that's gonna stop 22! Bang! Well, she stinks because she didn't get her double-double. 35, 8, and 8. She's mid, bro. She's mid!
The ripple effects extend far beyond the hardwood. The Clark effect, projects to dramatically boost attendance figures and merchandise sales, transforming the Fever from a rebuilding franchise into a financial powerhouse. This influx of resources isn't just padding the bottom line, it's enabling further investments in player development, facilities, and organizational infrastructure that will benefit the entire roster.
And the Fever are going to be over 200,000 higher than the next highest total attendance in league history. Clarkonomics, my friend!
For a franchise that has been in basketball purgatory, the 2025 season represents a potential breakthrough. Basketball analysts who've watched the Fever's methodical rebuild are increasingly optimistic about their trajectory. The organization hasn't just added a transcendent talent, they've strategically assembled complementary pieces and an innovative coaching philosophy to maximize her impact.
Caitlin Clark does it again. This rookie class, it's something special. The day after, Angel Reese sets a WNBA record for getting her shot swatted to the 10th row, Caitlin Clark sets another record for herself. Clark sets a WNBA game record high with 19 assists against Dallas. Don't look now, but she's third in MVP odds. Your Rookie of the Year's not in MVP talks. Can't relate. Her court vision is unreal. She is a machine. She is artificial intelligence. You can't tell me that's not ChatGPT throwing dimes in transition like that.
What truly separates Clark from the noise surrounding her is that her game speaks volumes without requiring interpretation. Her court vision allows her to see passing lanes others can't even imagine. Her shooting range forces defenses to extend 30 feet from the basket, creating spacing that benefits every teammate. Her basketball IQ turns seemingly routine possessions into scoring opportunities through subtle manipulations of defensive positioning. The transformation underway in Indiana isn't just about wins and losses in the immediate future. It's about establishing a sustainable basketball culture with Clark as its cornerstone. For all the debate about why people watch her play, the most compelling answer can be found in what she's capable of creating. Not just highlights, but a complete basketball renaissance for a franchise that's been waiting for this moment.
Let's take a peek at all the attention she draws. All 5 defenders staring right at her. Unselfish player finds Boston, top of the key 3. Bang! Another play. Caitlin, just a magician. Okay, maybe a little travel there, but that's okay. You get 3 of those per game in the W.
Oh, you didn't know Caitlin's favorite hobby was knitting? Because she just threaded the needle.
Bang! Hey, girl, if you're going to reach, I'm going to have to teach. Oh, got your ass. 3 ball. Bang! If you see Caitlin Clark running in transition with the rock, just know she's about to take a dookie on your head. You are my...
Let's call it what it is. The numbers speak for themselves. When 18.9 million viewers tuned in to watch Caitlin Clark's final NCAA tournament game, they weren't showing up because of how she looks. They showed up for the logo threes, the no-look passes, and the basketball wizardry that transcends demographics. McNutt's take crumbles under the weight of reality. Clark's appeal isn't manufactured. It's earned through countless hours in the gym and delivered on the biggest stages. With Clark at the helm, the Fever's future has never looked brighter. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.